Vivek Ramaswamy, a pretty sharp sort of conservative who ran for president before he endorsed Trump, was just at a Trump Vance event and basically said, gay marriage is great, do whatever you want in the privacy of your own bedroom, but just leave the kids alone. Don't sexualize and chemically castrate the kids, but gay marriage is just awesome. Here is Vivek Ramaswamy sounding like Hillary Clinton from 2004. No, wait, actually, Hillary Clinton called from 2004 and said, shut up, Vivek Ramaswamy, you're too extreme for me. Here's Ramaswamy.
Our message to gay Americans tonight is this. You're free to marry who you want, if you want, without the government standing in your way. But that doesn't mean that boys get to compete with girls in girls' sports, or you do genital mutilation and chemical castration on our children.
So there you have it. Vivek, Biden called from 2006 and Hillary called from 2004 to ask you, why do you hate families so much? And you're too extreme for the Democrat Party. Oh, wait, you're a Republican who called yourself a conservative. What the heck is going on? Welcome to the Seth Gruber Show. So, okay, listen, obviously, I'll always get flack if I start attacking another Republican who's helping Trump get elected. I understand Trump needs to become president because he's the middle finger to the leftist deep state and to Kamala Harris, who's literally saying we're going to force pro-life nurses to perform abortions or they're going to lose their jobs or we're going to sue them. We're going to throw pro-life sidewalk counselors in prison. Right? I mean, I understand all of this is absolutely insane right now, but listen, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't speak out against quote-unquote conservatives and other Republicans when they're saying and espousing stupid, dangerous ideas, okay? And so I want to get into some of this because, and I've been talking more about this on the show because I believe it's important. I think that we need to be able to elevate a little bit of our political gravitas. I think we need to mature a little bit in how we think through some of the cultural and political issues because they're actually worldview issues. Like, there are worldview premises pregnant in all of these political discussions. Dr. Nancy Pearcey, who's a good friend of the show and featured in the book, The 1916 Project that I wrote, has this incredible observation that bears repeating. I've said it in many different ways over the last several months, but it's incredibly prescient. It's incredibly profound, but it also has a beautiful simplicity to it. And here's what I'm trying to say. She says, once a society accepts a worldview, it tends to work out the logical consequences. This process may proceed quickly or slowly, but because we are rational beings created in God's image, we tend to live out the implications of our convictions. What does that mean? It means that you will apply the internal logic of the worldviews you've assumed or that you operate off of, even if you don't fully understand the breadth of that worldview that's your lenses through which you see the world. Even if you don't understand the consequences of where that worldview will take you, but you will eventually work out the internal logic and implications of that worldview. This is why C.S. Lewis said, the most dangerous ideas in a society are not the ones being argued for, they're the ones being assumed. The most dangerous ideas in a society are assumed ideas. Why? Because ideology is a hell of a drug. You'll still work out the logic of that ideology, even if you've assumed it. Oh wait, but if I've assumed it, then I'm making decisions off of a worldview that I'm not even fully aware that I've imbibed. And how do these worldviews get inculcated into the society? Movies, TV shows, music, right? Like these culturally formative aspects of the country. It's a liturgy, right? Like this right here, this phone is a liturgy. Social media is a liturgy. The music you listen to, the movies you watch, the shows you watch. Why do you think Will and Grace was so scandalous in its era for normalizing same-sex couples on television when that was taboo and not really chill with the American public at that time? Why? Because you fall in love with the two gay dudes in the show, and then like you like the person, but it's like, oh wait, but they're gay, but I love the character in the show, so maybe we should be down with the gays. Now, I'm not calling for hatred, of course, against anyone because of their sexuality, but I'm saying that normalizing aberrant sexual behaviors changes the culture. It changes how we view the family. And with the breakdown of the family comes the breakdown of all of civilization, because as goes the family, so goes the country, right? The family is the smallest political unit. It's the foundational building block of the republic. And guess who understood this? Guess who just called Vivek Ramaswamy to say, whoa, you're way too radical for the Democrat Party. That's right. That would be Hillary Clinton calling from 2004. Here is Hillary Rodham Clinton, believe it or not, as a senator from New York in 2004. Check this out.
I believe that marriage is not just a bond, but a sacred bond between a man and a woman. I have had occasion in my life to defend marriage, to stand up for marriage, to believe in the hard work and challenge of marriage. So I take umbrage at anyone who might suggest that those of us who worry about amending the Constitution are less committed to the sanctity of marriage or to the fundamental bedrock principle that it exists between a man and a woman going back into the mists of history as one of the foundational institutions of history and humanity and civilization, and that its primary principal role during those millennia has been the raising and socializing of children for the society into which they are to become adults.
Oh my gosh, what a Christian nationalist bigot. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me, Hillary? What's wrong with you? Now do you understand, by the way, why a lot of people say that most of our political betters on the left in particular don't believe anything? They don't believe anything. They don't care about anything. They lick their finger, they stick it up, and they see which way the wind's blowing. And they'll change their positions, their public positions, as the culture shifts. So why? So they can remain in power, so they can continue getting votes, right? Because it's a pretty cush life. You get paid pretty well to be a senator and keep getting elected over and over and over. By the way, that's why we need term limits, but conversation for another time. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsor of the Seth Gruber Show, Every Life Diaper Company, everylife.com. Super easy. Listen. Woke corporatism is ruining America, okay? DEI, ESG, anti-family policies in major companies in America is ruining America. If you don't like what you see happening in America, then don't spend your money with companies who hate you and your values. You're empowering them, and it makes mom and pop values-aligned companies, it makes it nearly impossible for them to flourish. Okay, listen, one of the ways that you fight against this culture of death is with your wallet. Every major diaper company in America supports the abortion industry. It makes no sense. They're helping literally fund the killing of their future clientele base. I want you to get your diapers and wipes. If you've got kids, grandkids, the nursery at your church, the pregnancy resource center in your city, to get your diapers from everylife.com. Promo code Seth10, 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 for 10% off your first order. And if you sign up for recurring, I believe you get a discount as well. Okay, my wife and I use Every Life diapers. Okay, we love it. The quality is absolutely great. There's no leakage, if you know what I mean. Okay, stop Huggies, stop Coterie, stop these pro-abortion baby brands. Go to everylife.com, promo code Seth10, and tell everyone to do the same. In so doing, you're fighting back against the culture of death, and you're supporting the Seth Gruber Show and us here at the White Rose Resistance. Thank you, Every Life Diaper Company. Whoa, Hillary Clinton in 2004 sounding like a bigot. No, of course, she just believes what every human being in all of human history, in every civilization, even the human sacrifice civilizations, believed about marriage, which is that it's one man and one woman. And you heard Hillary literally say, and for what purpose? For the raising and socializing of children and for the next generation. Wait a second. Obergefell just called to call you a bigot, Hillary. Obergefell v. Hodges, that's a Supreme Court decision that found a fictional right to gay marriage in the Constitution. And their argument for gay marriage, for expanding marriage, by the way, when you expand marriage, you obliterate marriage because marriage has a definition, okay? And so if it's not a man and a woman, then it's something else. And if it's not based on biological sexual differences and complementarity for the good of society and the rearing of children, then it's based on desires. And that's the reasoning that was behind gay marriage and the Obergefell decision, was that marriage was based on desires and the sort of the emotional satisfaction of the two individuals, the two dudes or the two gals who say, we're married now, okay? Obviously, gay marriage can't be for the procreation of children, right? I think I took a biology course. I don't think that's possible. So redefining or expanding marriage actually obliterates marriage. It's very important to say that. And here's Hillary Clinton literally saying it's the foundational institution. It's the history of civilization. It's what everyone's believed. And it existed between a man and a woman. And it was specifically for the raising and socializing of children. That was what it was directed towards. Oh my gosh. I mean, Hillary Clinton is like one of the most radical leftists in all of American politics, but she doesn't actually believe anything. She just goes wherever she sees the revolution going. Now, Vivek Ramaswamy is more radical than Hillary Clinton circa 2004. That, by the way, should kind of tell you everything you need to know about American politics. But, oh, actually, wait a second. I'm getting a call from Joe Biden, who's calling you, Vivek Ramaswamy, to also say that you're too radical for the Democrat Party. Check out Biden from 2006 when he could still string a sentence together.
The president used his radio address yesterday and tomorrow in the Rose Garden to talk about a constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage.
You know, think about this. The world's going to Hades in a handbasket. We are desperately concerned about the circumstance relating to avian flu. We don't have enough vaccines. We don't have enough police officers. And we're going to debate the next 3 weeks, I'm told, gay marriage, a flag amendment, and God only knows what else. I can't believe the American people can't see through this. We already have a law, the Defense of Marriage Act, where we've all voted, not where I voted and others said, look, marriage is between a man and a woman, and states must respect that. Nobody's violated that law. There's been no challenge to that law. Why do we need a constitutional amendment? Marriage is between a man and a woman. What's the game going on here?
Well, there you have it. Marriage is between a man and a woman. End quote, President Joe Biden. Oh, what a bigot! Once again, do you see exactly how quickly the revolution moves? Chesterton had this incredible observation 100 years ago in 1924. He said, the business of progressives is to keep on making mistakes. The business of conservatives is to prevent the mistakes being corrected. Even when the revolutionist himself might repent of his revolution, the traditionalist is already defending it as a part of his tradition. And thus we have the two great types. The advanced person who rushes us into ruin, and the retrospective person who admires the ruins. In other words, Vivek Ramaswamy. Do you understand? This is the traditionalist conservative admiring the ruins of the liberal establishment, right? And so conservatives do more to imbibe whatever the leftists did 10 years ago as a part of their new conservative orthodoxy and tradition. It's like, oh my gosh, can we get a principled conservative who will hold to a standard as unapologetically as all the radical leftists do to their standards? This is why we lose the culture. It's because those who should be representing conservatism, a priority of American exceptionalism, and an elevation and protection of the family unit, just looked like Democrats 10 years ago. When Vivek Ramaswamy sounds more radical than Hillary Clinton in 2004 and Joseph Biden in 2006, what does that tell you today about the Republican Party and conservatism as we know? I think we need a new Matt Walsh documentary. What is a conservative? What is a conservative? I don't know anymore. If Vivek Ramaswamy is a conservative, I don't know what a conservative is. Okay? Now, yes, I'm grateful for many of the things Vivek has said and the ways that he's explained some beautiful conservative principles. But we're talking about the bedrock conservative issues. Like, if you can't conserve marriage, okay? And let's see, wait a second. Parenthood and the next generation, to quote Hillary Clinton, marriage was an institution designed for the socializing and the raising of children. And that it's, wait, here's Hillary Clinton. Marriage exists between a man and a woman. I can't believe I'm quoting Hillary Clinton to make my conservative argument for the prioritization of the family and marriage unit. Everything is stupid. Everything is stupid. So how did all of this happen? Okay. I want to dive into this because if we don't understand that we're being put through a cultural revolution that requires the slow, incremental, and steady dismantling of all of the things that make America great and all of the things that advance the next generation, then we won't understand how to define a conservative. And we won't understand why today's conservatives in 2024 look like Hillary Clinton from 2004. There has been a larger agenda from the left, the liberal establishment. I know I throw all these phrases out. It's because I'm trying to just say whichever one resonates with you. It's all the same thing. Do you understand? Cultural Marxism, the sexual revolutionaries, the free love movement, the hippie movement, the world population movement, the eugenics movement, the abortion industrial complex, the deep state. What phrases have I forgotten? It's all kind of the same thing. They hate Christianity. They hate all of the values of Christianity that made America great in the first place. They hate the unborn. They hate marriage now. They believe that two dads should be able to rent a woman's womb, buy another woman's egg, and then maybe even have sperm from some other dude and raise a child that they're not related to in any way. They want to redefine and reshape the family as we know it in America. Okay, that revolution, if you study the secular moral revolution, their architects, their high pontiffs, their high priests, their thought leaders, their revolutionaries, then you'll understand that Vivek Ramaswamy sounding like a Democrat from 15 years ago actually makes a lot of sense. It actually makes a lot of sense because the left isn't going to just say pedophilia. They're going to say actually no-fault divorce laws, actually feminism, actually children are just as good with two mommies as two daddies. Actually, you need to perform a gay wedding or you're going to lose your pastoral license or you're going to be sued. They always move incrementally and slowly so that we become the frog in the pot. By the time we're stuck, by the time we realize what's happening, we can't jump out anymore. They're not going to go from no-fault divorce laws to pedophilia. They will eventually, but there's a whole bunch of other steps in between. And we've detailed in my book, The 1916 Project, in the film, on this show, of what a lot of those steps have been. Okay, and maybe that'll be my next book. I don't know. Maybe we'll go through all of the steps and how they move into the next one and how these people sort of openly talked about what the goal was. But I want to, like, as we do here, right, on the Seth Gruber Show, we dive deeper, we go harder, we think harder than a lot of shows do, because if we don't understand the ideas that consequentially impact human beings, families, livelihoods, civilizations, and societies, then we're not going to be able to present a better, more robust vision, and we're not going to be able to critique and criticize those bad ideas to awaken the moral intuitions of Americans to reject bad ideas, liberalism, leftism, whatever you want to call it. So, listen, Vivek Ramaswamy, listen, this is what we need to tell Vivek Ramaswamy. Gay marriage is not neutral. That's what he's saying. Do you understand that? In this clip, in the introduction to the show, when he said, what did he said? He said, our message to gay Americans, you're free to marry who you want, when you want, without the government standing in your way. Right? It's that old school, like, why does what we do in the privacy of our own bedrooms affect you in any way? Right? They're saying it's neutral. Like when we have gay sex in our bedroom, or if we want to be married, how does that impact you? Guys, I'm only 33, but I remember Obergefell. Okay, I was in college when this debate was happening in the lead up to the fictional, newly found right to gay marriage. I remember the debate happening, and I remember the arguments. And the arguments were, how does it impact you if us two dudes get married? How does it impact men and women who are married if we two gay dudes also want to be married? That doesn't impact you in any way. It's neutral. Well, of course, it's not neutral. But that was the equal sign, right? That people still have as bumper stickers on their car today. Gay marriage equality. Let's just apply marriage to everyone. Of course, what that did was it actually obliterated marriage completely. It's made friendships harder to achieve, and it's redefined parenthood. And there's a lot there. But what Vivek Ramaswamy is communicating, he's not saying this, but it's what he's communicating. It's what he's assumed. Assumed ideas are dangerous. That gay marriage is somehow neutral. But he says, what did he say? But leave the kids alone. Don't chemically castrate them and sexualize them, because that's not neutral. Yo, Vivek, it's all part of the same revolution. It's all part of the same movement. So what do we mean by this? Gay marriage is not neutral because gay marriage is a misnomer. Asking someone if they support gay marriage is like asking someone if they support square circles. The historical definition of marriage means that anything that is not that is by definition not marriage. For all of human history, in every society, marriage has been defined as the sexually complementary, permanent, and exclusive union of a man and a woman. Why? Because of the children, which he says we need to protect, right? Guess what, Vivek Ramaswamy? Protecting marriage protects children. Redefining marriage obliterates marriage, and in so doing harms children. Marriage has the unique ability to secure children's rights to their mother and father by codifying the only relationship with the capacity to create, sustain, and nurture a child. And yet we still have many squishy conservatives like Vivek Ramaswamy and shallow-thinking Christians who say things like, but my religious understanding, in the Bible, my biblical understanding of marriage should not be foisted onto the rest of the country. That's our Christian understanding of marriage, but why should we require everyone else to live by that? Ignoring the assumption that the only reason one might support traditional marriage is due to religious beliefs, which is absurd on the face of it. See all of human history as your critique. This shallow argument fails to recognize why marriage is so important to a society, and therefore why the government, until quite recently, has had such an interest in upholding traditional marriage. Why? Redefining marriage redefines parenthood. Let me say that again. Redefining marriage redefines parenthood. For if gay marriage is truly equal to traditional marriage and entitled to the same rights, then parenthood can no longer be based on biology, but rather on intent. What do I mean by this? Okay, here's an example. Okay, this is important. Let's get into ideas, shall we? All right? Tell people to subscribe to this show. Share this episode. We get into the ideas behind why this stuff is happening. behind why Vivek Ramaswamy sounds like a Clinton from 2004. Okay? If two gay men procure a child, at least one of those men have no biological relationship to the child. Oh, I know, shocker, right? But if you support marriage equality, you'd be forced to say that the non-biologically related male is just as much of a father as the biologically related male. You following me? So the intent to parent of the non-biologically related male is all that is needed for the courts to recognize his legal status as a parent. So what did I just prove to you? That redefining marriage redefined parenthood. Here's a real life example, followed by a question for the squish Vivek Ramaswamy conservatives and the woke Christians who support the misnomer called gay marriage. You can see my friend Katie Faust at an article that she wrote, an incredible piece, where she actually told this story on their website, Them Before Us. But this actually happened. Are you ready for this? This is insanity and proves to bolster my point that ideas have consequences and bad ideas have victims. Listen to this. While living in New York, Frank and his partner, Joseph, conceived twins through in vitro fertilization, and Joseph's sister carried them to term. Joseph's sister surrendered her parental rights after the children were born. Frank is their biological father and was the primary caregiver and only legal parent until the twins were almost 7 years old. Are you following that? Okay, so Frank is the biological father, but his partner Joseph's sister carried them to term. So Joseph is not related to the two twins that him and Frank are raising and calling themselves daddies to. After separating, shocker, Joseph sued Frank for custody of the twins. A court chose to remove the kids from Frank and give them to Joseph, even though he is not the biological father and had no legal relationship to the kids. How in the bleepity bleep is that possible? What in the world? Now, if you're a deep thinker and you listen to the Seth Gruber Show regularly, you already know the answer. It all stems from a court case that has redefined what it means to be a parent. In 2016, the New York State Court of Appeals expanded the definition of parenthood in a case involving two gay partners. And the court ruled that a partner who has no biological and no legal relationship to a child can nonetheless sue for custody or visitation rights if he or she clearly demonstrated a intent to parent when the child was conceived. In other words, biology and legal status are no longer necessary factors in becoming a parent. Let me say that again. Biology and legal status are no longer necessary factors in becoming a parent. Neither does an adult need to undergo the vetting and screening process for adoption. All you need to show is that you intended to co-parent a child at the time the child was conceived. How did the New York court argue for this bonkers decision? Oh, here comes the answer. Are you ready? By citing the very ruling and logic operative in the Supreme Court decision that so many woke Christians celebrated, Obergefell v. Hodges, which redefined marriage as based on mere consent between adults regardless of sex and the needs of children. The New York court reasoned that if marriage is no longer based on the needs of children, then neither is the definition of a parent. Wow. Ideology. Hell of a drug. So I have a question for same-sex marriage advocates like Vivek Ramaswamy, who call themselves conservatives, and for some of the woke marriage equality advocate Christians. Do you support intent-based parenting where children can even be taken away from their biological parent? If you don't support intent-based parenting, then I guess children have a natural right to their biological parents, right? In which case, you shouldn't support same-sex marriage, which logically demands that same-sex couples have a right to children, even when one or both of the same-sex couples have no biological relationship to the child that they're raising. In short, Vivek Ramaswamy, why do you hate kids so much? Why do you hate kids so much? You cannot support children's rights and also support same-sex marriage. Pick one. Pick one and stop pretending that you can champion the logic of both. Redefining marriage redefined parenthood. Redefining marriage allowed a non-biologically related dude to sue for custody rights of a kid they have no relationship to. Do you support that? Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that Frank having his actual children taken from him by formerly gay sodomite partner Joseph is a good thing? If you don't, then you must oppose the logic that's operative in Obergefell v. Hodges, which found a fictional constitutional right to gay marriage. And if you don't support the logic of that decision, then you shouldn't be saying at a Trump J.D. Vance rally, our message to gay Americans, you're free to marry who you want, when you want, without the government standing in your way. The government historically has always had a vested interest in marriage and upholding the traditional view of marriage because it has an interest in the future. And marriage is the only relationship that can codify the relationship between children and those who created them and who have an obligation, not just naturally, but legally, to raise as healthy as possible socially adjusted Americans. Because guess what? When you're dead, the next generation is in charge of the country, politically, culturally, for shaping it. And if you have a super sick and twisted and unhealthy next generation, then you're going to have a sick country and culture. How do we create the healthiest children? I don't know. Let me quote Obama from his Father's Day sermon in, 2008? Where he sounds like some based Ronald Reagan conservative talking about how children fare best when their father's in the picture and their mother and father have a healthy marriage and are living under the same roof, right? Of course, now the gay marriage agenda says like, any two will do. Remember that? Any two will do. Like two lesbians or two daddies. Totally the same for the outcome of children in the future as a mother and a father married to each other and raising the children that they created. Totally superfluous. It's all the same. That's what they told us. It's all BS. The social science shows that children fare best when raised by their biological married parents under the same roof in a low conflict marriage. Okay? Obama admitted that in 2008 in his Father's Day message at a church where he sounds like a conservative. The business of progressives is to keep on making mistakes. The business of conservatives is to prevent the mistakes being corrected. That's Vivek Ramaswamy. That explains so much of the GOP today. So, question for you, Vivek Ramaswamy. If biology doesn't matter when it comes to marriage and parenting, why should biology suddenly matter when it comes to transgenderism? Oh, mic drop. Hey, Vivek, if biology doesn't matter when it comes to marriage and parenting, why should biology suddenly matter when it comes to transgenderism? You champion gay marriage, which means biology doesn't matter when it comes to marriage, and it doesn't matter when it comes to parenting. I just literally gave you legal proof of how the legalization of same-sex marriage allowed non-biologically related dudes to sue for custody rights and take children that they have no relationship to. So obviously, redefining marriage redefined parenthood. So apparently, to the new GOP and Vivek Ramaswamy, biology does not matter when it comes to marriage and parenting. So why does it suddenly matter when it comes to transgenderism? If biology can't secure a children's right to their mother and father, why should biology secure a child's sexual identity? If they want to liberate themselves from the bondage of biology to secure their authentic identity, then who is Vivek Ramaswamy to stop them? Now, listen, obviously, I'm grateful that, like, Vivek Ramaswamy and other Republicans are saying, like, don't sexually mutilate children. But all that means is that in 12 years, they will call for the sexual mutilation and chemical castration of minors because the advanced person rushes us into ruin and the retrospective person admires those ruins. 12 years later, 15 years later. Today's Republicans are Democrats 15 years ago. Like, how many times do I have to make this point? I'm glad he's calling that out, but it's not consistent. It's not consistent. If a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man, and biology has no relationship to marriage and parenthood, then you can't suddenly say biology does have something to do with gender identity. If biology doesn't matter when it comes to procreation, remember? Obergefell, gay marriage, 2 dudes can get kids. So if biology doesn't matter to procreation, it doesn't matter to child rearing, it doesn't matter to parenthood, you can't suddenly say it matters to gender identity and transgenderism. Oh, but leave the kids alone, he says, Vivek says. Again, of course we should leave the kids alone. But you're not going to fix that or stop that until you agree that biology matters. And if biology matters, then it matters across the board, which means that we need to overturn Obergefell. What was the agenda? What did these people talk about? I told you we would get into what the revolutionaries' goals were as they were slowly dismantling the house of Western civilization, which is built upon the family. Am I just a sensationalist, weird homeschool kid trying to rile up the base? Or did they tell us what they were going to do, and then they went and did it? This is why knowing history and knowing who your enemy is slightly important. Have you ever heard of Kate Millett? We're going to get a lot more into all the kooky weirdos of the 20th century because they've had such a damaging impact on the culture. And we haven't talked about her on the show before, but Kate Millett, who died in 2017, was one of the early grandmothers of feminism's second wave. She wrote the book Sexual Politics, which became the justification for feminist women's studies programs in colleges across America, and was featured on Time Magazine's cover twice. Author Carrie Gress wrote a book called The Anti-Mary Exposed, and it's fascinating. Carrie Gress interviews Kate Millett's sister, Mallory Millett. Now, Kate Millett, again, a radical second-wave feminist, okay? She knew Herbert Marcuse of the Frankfurt School, had meetings with him. Marcuse mentored Angela Davis, who mentored Nicole Hannah-Jones and the BLM Incorporated founders. Herbert Marcuse came from the Frankfurt School, cultural Marxism, get the robes of the academic, scientific organizations, the universities, and the clergy, change the culture from the foundations of culture so you won't need violent BLM, Antifa, Chaz Chop revolutions. Change the culture, right? The long walk through the institutions. Like Kate Millett ran in the circles with all these same people, okay? Radical feminist. And a miserable woman. When you look at her biography, quite a miserable woman. That should not surprise you in the slightest. But her sister, Mallory Millett, wasn't really down with her crazy, crazy sister. And so this is a fascinating story because it comes from her family. And her sister tells this story to Carrie Gress in Carrie's book, The Anti-Mary Exposed. Mallory talks about how her sister, Kate Millett, gathered 12 women in New York City in the late 1960s and early 70s. By the way, her book, Sexual Politics, came out in 1970. And it's considered a seminal, or I guess Kate Millett would call it a vaginal piece in the feminist, academic archives. And guess where they met? Bet you can't guess. Greenwich Village. Wow. So I think we need to go exercise Greenwich Village. It's where Sanger came from. It's where the Stonewall movement, the homosexual movement began. It's where Kate Millett is gathering radical revolutionaries. Let's see. 1 second. 1920, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. 53 years after Sanger was gathering radical revolutionaries there. And these are the women who laid the groundwork for second wave feminism and paved the way for wokeness. And so Mallory Millett tells this story about her sister gathering these 12 radical women in 1969. And Kate took her sister Mallory one time, okay? And so Mallory explains this to Carrie Gress in her book, The Anti-Mary Exposed. And she says that it was a consciousness-raising chant, which is like you should be thinking of Mao's China right now. And 12 women gathered at this large table. And Mallory said that Kate Millett led them in this chant. Okay, and they opened up with this litany chant that sounds like some kind of, liturgy that you'd see in a Catholic church. But it was Marxism. It was the church of the left. And here's how it went. Are you ready for this? This will blow your freaking mind. You're going to be like, there's no way that's true. No, it's in Carrie Gress's book, who spoke to Mallory Millett, Kate Millett's sister, who took her sister to this weird leftist, second-wave feminism, cult liturgical chant. Why are we here today? The chairwoman asked. To make revolution, they answered. What kind of revolution? She replied. The cultural revolution, they chanted. And how do we make cultural revolution? She demanded. By destroying the American family, they'd answered. And how do we destroy the family? She came back. By destroying the American patriarch, they cried exuberantly. And how do we destroy the American patriarch? She probed. By taking away his power. And how do we do that? By destroying monogamy, they shouted. And how can we destroy monogamy? By promoting promiscuity, eroticism, prostitution, abortion, and homosexuality, they resounded. Well, we could end the show right there. Isn't that fascinating? When conservatives tell you they're coming for your children, they want to destroy the family. Guys, when someone tells you who they are, believe them. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Kate Millett is a celebrated matriarch of feminism today. She just died in 2017. Okay? At the time that she's writing her book, Sexual Politics, which that title, by the way, tells you everything you need to know. She's hosting these crazy leftist feminists in Greenwich Village to chant, we have to destroy the family by destroying the American patriarch. Who's that, by the way? The father. And how do we destroy? By taking away his power. How do we take away the father's power? By destroying monogamy. Oh, right, man, woman. Don't sleep around. Stay faithful to one another and get married. And how do we destroy monogamy? They go, porn, prostitution, abortion, and homosexuality. It's by the way, it's called libido dominandi. Sexual liberation as a form of political control. Oh, Sexual Politics? That's the title of Kate Millett's book? Are you keeping up? Listen, the trans movement is the biggest fulfillment yet of second wave feminism with the ideal of erasing gender. And it will be perhaps the final battle before Kate Millett's vision is complete. Feminism resulted in transgenderism. And I've said this on the show recently a few times, and I'm going to keep saying it because there's an internal consistency and logic behind feminism and transgenderism. Women need a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Men and women are superfluous. Any different roles they have in society are not based on biology. They're random and coincidental, or they're a product of the patriarchy and chauvinists keeping women under the thumb of the patriarchy. And there's no reason why a woman couldn't go out and work and a man could stay home and chest feed and take care of the babies, and they would be just as effective. All of those societal roles are superfluous. They're interchangeable, and there's nothing unique that men bring to the table that women can't bring. They don't complement each other. They're completely superfluous. So obviously, we need to redefine marriage because there's no reason why two mommies can't do just as good of a job as a mother and a father. Now, welcome to transgenderism. Why can't a woman just be a man then? Why can't a man just be a woman? There's an internal consistency to that logic, and Kate Millett is literally saying, destroy monogamy, destroy marriage, destroy the differences between the sexes, promote homosexuality. Vivek Ramaswamy, are you listening to me? Okay? You might not want transgenderism foisted on American children, but the gay marriage revolution and the sexualized culture that created that is one of the steps towards the eventual and internally consistent conclusion of transgenderism. If biology has no relevance to marriage and parenthood, why should it have any relevance to sexuality? And if biology has nothing to do with our identity, then there's no reason why a kid shouldn't be able to chemically castrate themselves and identify as the other gender. I think that's evil, demonic, and disgusting. But if you're going to celebrate gay marriage and celebrate the eradication of children's rights and ignore biological realities, why not just jump full into the deep end with transgenderism? Why not? And if we don't have principled conservatives and Christian leaders to lead the Republican Party, to take America back to a semblance of normalcy, then in 12 years, Vivek Ramaswamy and the GOP, 12 to 15 years, maybe 11 to 14, will be fully on board with the transgender revolution. Seth, come on, that's too insane. Really? Well, Hillary Clinton sounds like a conservative from 2004, 2006, whatever it was. Okay? Now Vivek Ramaswamy is more radical than Hillary Clinton in 2006. It continues to deteriorate. Everything continues to decay because we need to raise a standard and stand by it again. The business of progressives is to keep on making mistakes. The business of conservatives is to prevent the mistakes being corrected. What a shocking indictment from Chesterton on the Vivek Ramaswamys that he wrote in 1924, 100 years ago. What is a conservative? Great question. Great question. Let's finish with this. Remember when Ketanji Jackson was asked to define a woman? Do you remember that? She's the newest Supreme Court justice or whatever. Ketanji Brown Jackson. I guess all the female Supreme Court justices get 3 names. I don't get that. She was asked to define what a woman is. What did she say? What did she say? I'm not a biologist. Well, I'm not a meteorologist, but I can tell you when it's raining. When a feminist can't tell you what a woman is, I think it's safe to say that everything is stupid now. Right? By the way, this is why Doug Wilson says that feminism is male chauvinism dressed differently. Can y'all handle that one yet on the Seth Gruber Show? Feminism is male chauvinism dressed differently. The feminists are now enslaving themselves to the cult of transgenderism that forces them to compete against men, get undressed in front of men, and apparently even silently wait to be told what they are. Hey, feminist Ketanji Jackson, what is a woman? Can a man define it for me? Oh my gosh. The feminists are now enslaving themselves to the cult of transgenderism. Feminism is male chauvinism dressed differently. Feminism ushered in transgenderism. And now feminists have to get the living snot beat out of them on nationally, worldwide streamed Olympics because a dude wants to box with a woman. You have to go get undressed in the locker room with the dude who's going to swim against you at the swim meet. And what is a woman? I'll let someone else answer for me. Wait, I thought a woman need a man like a fish need a bicycle. Apparently you need men to now tell you who you are. Wow. Wow. I think the feminists need to finally admit that feminism is toxic and it has ushered in transgenderism. And I eagerly await, by the way, for Naomi Wolf and J.K. Rowling, who oppose all this transgender insanity, to abandon their feminism and come back to a traditional view of marriage and sexuality. For it is only by returning to those first principles, standing for them and defending them against this sex cult insanity, that we can return to a healthy, family-based culture that will ensure the health of the next generation in civilization. Remember, we're less than 2 years out from the average lifespan of a civilization. Guys, head on over to iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, give the show a rating and review. Go subscribe at Rumble and help insulate us so our show is successful if YouTube ever digitally assassinates me. Go to the1916project.com and pick up a copy of my book and screen the film at your church, or it'll take you straight to Twitter. And for a limited time, you can watch the 1916 Project for free on X, formerly known as Twitter. Join us on January 23rd in Washington, D.C., the day before the March for Life or Death Con. Go to lifeordeathcon.com. Get your tickets. If you're a $35 a month ally or greater of the White Rose Resistance, you get a free ticket to come to Life or Death Con. Allie Beth Stuckey, Eric Metaxas, Dr. Nancy Piercy, Dr. George Grant, Joshua Broom, AJ Hurley, Victoria Robinson, and other warriors. LifeOrDeathCon.com. We only have space for 1,000 people. And buckle up. June is coming, and we're taking it back. If you want to learn more about that, go to thelaststand.com. It's going to rip your face off. Thank you guys for joining the Seth Gruber Show today. Until next time, I'm Seth Gruber, and this is the Seth Gruber Show.